that comes across your. Thank you, team. Welcome everybody. For those of you that are joining us on the recording, this is what we will be covering off for us today. So in terms of the key indicators, I'm going to be sharing with you guys a couple of key concepts or ideas to look at when actually assessing different, I guess, commentators' thoughts on the market as well. And then I'm definitely going to talk through a couple of strategies that I think are key within the current market. Some key principles that we need to be looking at, or key strategies that are actually creating some really good wealth. Because at the end of the day, right now, there's a key concept that I'm going to get you to take away, and that is, it's all about preparing. It's all about the preparation for 2023. It's about preparing for what is coming within 2023. I'm going to show you a couple of current examples, some deals that are happening in the current market. Some of them as fresh as settling today. So we're going to be talking about that one. Some nice, very fresh deals. And as well as that, I'm going to show you how you can further grow and ensure that you are making the right decisions with your investing going forward. So there's some great, I can't believe the array of people coming in from all across New Zealand and Australia. It's fantastic. Now, I have got a question for you guys again within the chat. Who here currently owns property? I either want a yes or a no. If you don't own property yet, chuck in a no. If you do, pop in a yes. For me, that's really important as well, to ensure that I cover the right side of things in terms of the investment. Yes, yes, no. Okay, cool. We got a bit of a mixture. That's brilliant. There's a couple of people that I met there beforehand, and they definitely got yeses. I know that, which is very cool. So can you actually change it to that no to not yet? I think let's change that thought process, because it's no, it's not yet going forward. Awesome. Lots of yeses there. Cool. So a little bit about myself. So like I said, my name is Jono Frankel, and I actually went through Wealth Mentor education. So I found them just like you guys have tonight, the company where I wanted to further my education. For me, it was all about ensuring that I had the ability to know what I was doing, because property seemed like a great vehicle to change my life. For me, it was all about trying to create the best life possible for my family. Now, that's not just for my kids, my wife, but also my parents. Because at the end of the day, you want to try and create the best life for those people around you, your loved ones. Another interesting little bit of a stat around myself. For those of you that know me already, I'm sorry that you have to sit through this. For you new people, at least it gives you a bit of an idea as to my journey. Because I actually started with my first ever property being on a reality TV show. So it was on a show called Our First Home, similar to The Block, but slightly different. The concept being that you buy a house with your parents, you flip the property, so you buy it, renovate it, sell it on, and the profits then give the ability for the kids to go off and buy their home. We ended up in this show, I guess, kind of by accident, where we're trying to buy a home at the time, and a real estate agent said, "Have you guys heard of this show?" And next thing I know, my wife's sending in an application. Next thing I know, we're doing a few different rehearsals, and we're on this show, and it was a great experience to go through. But what it did show me is that by one property transaction, we made $190,000 of profit. One property transaction. At the time, I was a tennis coach, working a lot of hours, hitting a lot of tennis balls for probably about a third of that. I then sought out Wealth Mentor, went through, became a mentor within the company, obviously built up a substantial portfolio as well, both in the buy and hold and the trading space, became the head of Wealth Mentor, now the CEO of Wealth Mentor. So I guess it doesn't get much higher up within the food chain within Wealth Mentor in that space, and obviously very experienced in my investing and mentoring, which I'm really, really proud of, being able to educate and share the knowledge with people. And some really irrelevant information, but some of you might care. But I do love sport, and definitely love a good barbecue. Is probably a couple of passions of mine as well. Passions are really important though for you guys as you look at property market. Now, I want to share with you one more slide about myself before we move into actually assessing the market. And the key here is I want you to take away the concept of wealth, because for all of you being here tonight, there is obviously a reason why. There is a purpose as to what you're trying to achieve by being here tonight. And for most people, it's about creating wealth. Would you agree with that one? For those of you that can see, that have your cameras on, thank you. There's a few nods. Yeah, it's about creating wealth. But do you think that for all of us, that idea of what we're creating wealth-wise is slightly different? for myself compared to, I can see Jeremy, Tanya, Gerard, for all of you guys, I'm sure the concept of what you want to create within wealth is different to what I've created or are creating. For me, it's about my parents. The sacrifice they made in moving to New Zealand. I'll always be so grateful for that, and want to give back in that regard. In terms of my girls, Isla and Harley, it's everything in terms of being able to create the best life possible for them. And then at the bigger scale is being able to actually teach. I absolutely love the opportunity to stand here and share knowledge and share ideas, because I had that done for me. I had that done for me, which changed my perspective on investing in my life. So something I really, really am proud of, being able to stand here and share this with you. Right, enough about me. I know you guys are sick of that. So let's start off with a very, very interesting little phrase. And that is, I want you guys to consider the idea that you are going to buy property as though prices will never increase. Suddenly the participants drop by half. What? You wanted me to buy property though it never increases in value? Absolutely. Because what this comes down to is understanding properties in its current position. And I'm going to go into a lot more detail with this, but understanding the fact is that buying property as though it will never increase in value will ensure that you have kept yourself safe with your investing. And growth is just a beautiful, beautiful byproduct as we continue within our investing. At the moment, not a whole lot of growth, but that's not a bad thing. I'll get to that. In terms of that, where are we finding out our information? How are we deciding what is happening within markets? How are we making our decisions in terms of what properties we buy, what properties we sell, what properties we investigate? So in terms of that, when we're out there looking at the different types of information or different articles, where are you guys finding your information from? Is it from the Herald? Is it from Star? Is it from Facebook? Is it from the barbecue? Because damn, every single barbecue I go to right now, everybody's talking about the property market. I don't know if it's just because they want to get my thoughts on it, potentially, but I actually normally sit back and listen and have a listen to what everybody's saying, because everybody's got an opinion. Because at the end of the day, everybody thinks they know property. Hey, jump in the chat. Who here lives in a property? Okay, I'd imagine that everybody's jumping yes. It was probably a little bit of an irrelevant question there. But everybody has the ability to understand property or think that you know property. Probably the other one is builders or sparkies or plumbers understand property, but from a different angle. But property is such a diverse concept. You can't look at property and just go, this is what's happening in property, because there's different strategies. There's different markets, there's different areas, and all the different strategies within your different areas, within your different markets will come out in different positions. And that's something that will be one of the key takeaways from today, is every single area and every single strategy is going to be affected differently by different indicators or different things that are happening within the market from a macro level. But let's say that you do jump online, and I did this today. I simply searched New Zealand property market, and this is what came up. I find it fascinating, the first two, and I'll get to that. John Key's got a couple of thoughts on the property market currently. Then we've got what would it take for the New Zealand property market to really crack? And then the one that I really want you to jump in and pay some attention to. A turbulent year, absolutely a turbulent year in terms of property market. House prices fall 90% nationwide. More risks, and then it's ... Geez, you just want to click on that one and find out more, don't you? Because that's how it works for media in terms of being able to create income for them. They want you to click on these articles. And it's how the headlines are written that create fear or create uncertainty. Because when you even just read the short text underneath it, it does say that there's $90,000 drop in certain pockets or certain areas. But those drops have to do with something called a median price, a median value. We hear that term all the time within the market. I'm going to show you why I believe it's really important to understand what the median value actually means, to then understand what is happening within your micro areas, within your areas that you're investing in. I'm going to jump back on John here, and I'm a huge, huge respect for John Key in terms of his ideas, his concepts, his knowledge, what he did within as a Prime Minister. But often there's an agenda to what is being said. So I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but at the moment, John Key's son, Max Key, is currently selling off the plan properties. And you then look at, this is something new. Are some of the ideas or some of the phrases being put across to then help or assist in that space? And I don't saying it is, but it's just something to consider. Have a think about what is the agenda behind the article and what is it then creating for us in terms of a market. Oh, that's a curly one. I feel a bit weird saying that one about John, because I am a huge, Sir John, I am a huge, huge fan. But let's have a look at what is this median price actually about? Because this is something that we hear so much within the market. Now, as I'm going through this, please at any stage, if you guys have questions, put it in the chat. I can see the chat, it's there. Drop it in the chat. Let's have a talk about that and see if we can cover it off at the time. If we don't have time to cover it off now, I'll let you know, we can get to it at a later date, but please drop it in the chat for sure. So median price. Who actually understands what median price is and how that's actually worked out? And is it the most accurate way for us to establish what is actually happening from a price standpoint within markets or within New Zealand? To start with, let me actually show you what the definition of a median price actually is. So the definition in terms of the median, and I'll read it straight off the slide for you guys here. The median house price is the sale price of the middle home in a list of properties ranked from highest to lowest over a set period of time. And there's an example for you. We've got 5 properties there that have sold. We've got one in the 9 millions, one in the 600, there's a lot of zeros there. 900,000, sorry, there's an extra zero on my slide there, keeping you on your toes. Even if there wasn't an extra zero on that one, the median price would actually still be 719,000. No matter what that first price was, that first price could be 20 million. It would still be 719,000. The lowest price could have been $2. It would still be $719,000 as the median price. Does that make sense to everybody? Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, Jono, how does that affect within the market? Well, what have we seen over the last 2 years substantially happen with property, or with land, should we say, within New Zealand? And that there is something called infill. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say, for example, that you've got one property that is here and is sold for $3 million, probably to a developer. And the reason it's sold for $3 million, it's got one house on it, but it's got 2,500 square meters of land. And on that piece of land, you have the ability to chop it down into a minimum site size of 300 square meters. Developers are going, boom, here's an opportunity. But now we have a look at it, we've got one sale at $3 million. But what do they do with this one site that sold for $3 million? They take it and they chop it up into multiple sections. And let's say that it's developed into 8 sections. So we now have 8 sections, and each of those properties is sold for $1 million. If we take just those sales alone, from a median value, we're going to sit at $1 million. Even though there was a $3 million sale, the median price sits at $1 million. So you can see how, with all the infill that we've seen, especially in certain pockets, and I'm going to throw an example out there, West Auckland. Little pocket within West Auckland, we've seen a huge amount of infill. Median values have dropped back substantially, which have affected Auckland median values, which have affected nationwide median values. Now, I'm not saying that prices haven't dropped. Definitely not saying that. I think it's just important to understand some of the other factors that are coming across. The fact that prices have pulled back, there's many other indicators or many other things that are happening within the market that are affecting that. I'm going to cover them off really shortly, and how much of an opportunity this actually is in terms of the market pulling back in that terms. But you need to start to think of things from a median value standpoint. Who here starts to think that that's actually, makes a lot of sense as to values and how it could be portrayed, and how, I guess, that could be written within an article just based on that simple idea? Love to hear in the chat. Please feel free to drop anything in there. It's nice to hear from you guys. So really what we look at when this is happening is it creates a difference in terms of median value by the fact that we are having prices sold where, essentially land's chopped up into many, many sections. Now, today, I wanted to get you guys as fresh data as possible for tonight's session. And one of the bits that I came across, I found really, really fascinating. And that is in terms of the median stats for Auckland and New Zealand leading up to, well, as fresh as we can in terms of this month. And let's work through this. Let's first of all start, median prices year on year are down 7.5%. Okay, that's nationwide. In Auckland, down 3.4%. Sorry, down in Auckland, 12.7%, and New Zealand, excluding Auckland, is actually only 3.4%, which is very, very small. But then, what about from the last month to this month? We've actually seen an increase. Isn't that fascinating? And I'm going to talk through the key considerations to consider going forward within your investing. But is that not fascinating? I haven't heard anything come through around that one. Now, don't get me wrong, we have had interest rates rising, we've had other factors coming in, but is that not showing you a little bit of confidence starting to come back in? Now, what that confidence could be is multiple different things. And here's some of the ideas or some of the considerations that we need to start to think about when we start to make our own decisions on our investing. Now, in terms of the decisions that we make, we need to look at all factors. I'm going to show you some that I believe are going to prop the market up and some that I believe are going to probably pull the market back. And then we can make an informed decision as to what is the best strategy to implement going forward. So first of all, emergency housing. Emergency housing is a fascinating space. I'm going to throw you a couple of stats and you're probably going to be quite shocked on this. First stat, we currently have 30,000 people living in emergency housing. 30,000 people living in emergency housing. It is costing, I want to see some faces actually when I mention this, it's costing $1 million a day in emergency housing. $1 million a day is what the government is spending on emergency housing. It is a fascinating stat when you look at that. Yeah, I can see a couple of faces starting to. So there is a shortage still within housing. But then at the same time, rental markets are such a key space to be in, and rents have not kept up with either inflation or with value increases. I don't believe rents have kept up with inflation and the value of property increases. Now, it's a little bit of a touchy subject in terms of rents, but I truly believe that rents are going to rise. They're actually up 4.1% nationally over the last year, but we're going to see rents rise considerably, I believe, based on what has been brought into the market over the last couple of years. Interest deduction, interest rate rises, healthy homes. I'm a fan of healthy homes. I think it is a great idea, and I believe that properties that you are putting forward should be something that is desirable, and you should be proud of the students, your clients living in those houses, which are your tenants. But all these affect the actual expenses of landlords, and that has to be passed on because it doesn't keep up and it doesn't relate back to actually what is happening in other spaces. So rents have actually increased by 4.1% nationally. Did you know that actually in New Zealand, we currently have 42% of our population are actually renters? So it's quite a substantial amount. We're almost half of the country renting. So when we're getting this data in terms of taking all this information, we then need to make sure that we are making informed decisions as to how we then make our investments. Because the other thing that's fascinating is in terms of our vacancy rates, how many properties are actually sitting vacant is actually sitting at less than 1%. I can see there some questions coming in as where's this data coming from? I do a lot of research on different sites and different areas as to getting data. So it's not one space that I find this out, as well as that having key personnel within our team that are on local boards and master builders associations, that sort of connections is where we get a lot of this information from to be able to make our decisions. Hopefully that answers your question there, Jacqueline. So coming back to vacancy rates, we've got vacancy rates at less than 1%. So really, when in terms of that, we really should be able to have no issue in terms of if we're doing a buy and hold, to be able to make sure that we're getting ready for these properties. So we really still have a housing shortage, and we have probably, well, we've seen rental growth and probably will still continue to see rental growth coming forward. Vacancy rates, like I said, we're at less than 1%. And the other thing is that borders are open. We're now seeing migration back into New Zealand. Yes, there is people leaving over to Australia. There's a lot of incentives for a lot of Kiwis to head over to Australia. They're offering all these cash incentives, but we do have a lot of people coming back into New Zealand. And those stats are slightly delayed in terms of actually getting out as to the influx of people coming back in. And there is, again, a demand for those properties. So that there is really, really important. But the delayed statistics are something that you need to consider as well. Because when you are making decisions in terms of you're investing and where you're looking to, when you want to time the market, good luck timing the market. But the thing is that statistics are always going to be delayed. First of all, when people are coming into the country, borders open, those stats getting out to market are going to be delayed. They're going to be a month or two, actually 3 months delayed. The other one that's always going to be considered is how property data is always going to be delayed. Because from the time a property is actually made an offer on, so you decide, right, I found a property, I like this one, I make an offer. Usually the time from you making an offer to settlement, if it is tenanted or it is a homeowner looking to buy another property, it's going to be probably a couple of months, maybe 3 months. Bear in mind, you're going to have due diligence periods in there. You're going to then have settlement period, which is going to be probably 4 weeks minimum. It might be up to 90 days if it's tenanted. So all of a sudden, we're actually 3 months delayed in terms of understanding values and where prices are. Because all the data now is actually from offers that were made 3 months ago, 2 months ago. Does that make sense to everybody? So that also ensures that we need to be understanding where we are from a cycle standpoint within the time period of the year. So all the stats that we're getting now are from offers that were coming in just as the market was starting to warm up, and by warm up, I mean summer. That's when we start to see more activity within the property market. So we start to see a bit of an increase. All of a sudden, now we're getting to the end of the year. Everybody's kind of shutting off, and I commend you guys. You know, 20 of you that have jumped on tonight. You guys are keen to keep learning, and most people have shut down and go, "Yeah, I'm done with this. Yeah, I've had enough." But you want to keep learning. You want to start preparing for 2023. That's brilliant. But most people have shut down right now. By the way, that means there's a lot of opportunities out there. But stats are always going to be delayed. So bear in mind that if you are waiting to time the market, you're waiting for the market to increase before you make your decision, you're probably going to be 3 months too late, if you think of it that way. Now, then we have the other part of it, which is interest rates based on OCR. So OCR at the moment has gone up to 4.25%, official cash rate. It's essentially what the banks borrow the money at, so that is then passed on, and what reflects in terms of interest rates that we are paying as consumers. So interest rates are up. I think this week I locked in at 5.89, but it did go up from that just a couple of days later, thanks to the brokers for touching base to letting me know on that one. But we're actually in about the 6% from a mainstream banking opportunity. Now that has put a lot of stress on many homeowners and investors. Now, I really do feel sorry for the people that are in those positions that are stressed. But by buying properties correctly that have large amounts of income based on types of properties will ensure, so rent compared to purchase price, will ensure that when you have rent rises that you are kept safe. It's fascinating seeing some of the comments coming through from people that have bought off the plan properties that are now worth less than what they bought them for. Never mind the fact that the rents are costing them way less than what their expenses are, and they're actually going backwards quite a way. So understanding the right types of property to ensure that you can continue to purchase and continue to stay afloat is really important. But at the same time, this does provide opportunity to be able to jump in and be able to take on some of these properties. For me, and listen, this is crystal ball, because at the end of the day, if anybody tells you and they say this is what is going to happen in the market, excuse my French, they're full of shit, because no one actually knows. There's key indicators and there's key ways that we can look at it, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to our knowledge and making informed decisions for buying the right types of property for where the market is currently. But my feeling, and this is what I believe is going to happen, in certain pockets, bear in mind, each property is going to be different, that I think early next year is going to be the best time for us to be looking to purchase properties, because there are going to be more and more opportunities. There is about 40% of the nation's mortgages are coming off fixed interest rate prices early to mid next year, 40%. So that means that they're going to be going from 2-3% up to 6%. There's going to be some situations of pain, which will create opportunities, I guess, to jump in and purchase some of these properties and understand the strategies behind it to make the right decisions to then be able to provide for you and your family. So coming into the next year is a brilliant time for you guys to be on tonight, educating yourselves, starting to get yourselves prepared to make the right decisions leading into 2023. So my feeling, we'll see opportunities early 2023, and then what we'll see is some changes. And the reason I think we're going to see a few changes, and excuse my cynical side by bringing this one up, is we've got an election coming up in October next year. No government wants to go into an election with house prices declining. I know it's a bit cynical, but it's probably true. So there may be some other changes. They might look at what opportunities there are to shift the market. And as well as that, if we do see a change in government, will we see some adjustments to some of the changes that we've seen, which probably affect rentals? Potentially, we're not banking on it, but there is potential for that as we lead into 2023. So who's excited about 2023 and the opportunities around it? You should be. For those of you that are here tonight, you're getting yourselves educated to be able to make the right decisions. You will be able to make the right decisions based on the knowledge going into next year. So I commend you guys on jumping on tonight. So on that note, are you prepared for the opportunity? Are you prepared? Have you got your ducks in a row financially, knowledge-wise, to be able to make the decisions? Because what we don't want to be doing is just buying off the plan willy-nilly without actually having a plan behind our investments. There are certain circumstances where buying off the plan is the right decision for a portfolio. But is it part of the plan to be able to ensure that you guys are getting to where you want to get to? What are your goals? And is it the best place for you to put your energy and your effort? Ensure that you have the education to make the right decisions. I want to at this time give you guys the opportunity. If anybody would like to jump on a call and discuss some of the ideas that I've talked about, there is a QR code right there. Grab your phone, scan it, and let's jump on a call and discuss some of these ideas that we've talked about. I'd love to be able to do that with you guys. I'll leave it up there for just a second before I move into something that I believe is really important in terms of the plan and how we start to create this plan. And what it is starting off with understanding where we're looking to get to. Where is our end goal? What is our goal that we're looking to achieve? What is the position we're starting at? And then in terms of that, yeah, we'll get that link for you. We'll get that link for you really soon, Cadby. We chatted today anyway, man. You've got the link. It was a great chat today as well, by the way. Enjoyed that. So first of all, is establishing what is our SAD principle. When we go into our investments, what's our SAD principle? First of all, what is the strategy that is going to be best for you to implement to be able to get to your goals? Because for most people, when they go out there and buy a property, I like you too. I'm going to just meet you today, but I like you too. The first thing is really important is obviously establishing our strategy. Because for most people, when they decide to go out there and buy a property, the first thing that happens is they go, right, I'm driving past this pretty cool property on my way to work, because unfortunately they're still driving to work and it's probably a 30-minute commute at 7 o'clock in the morning. And you see this property, you go, oh, that's a cool property. I love the front lawn. I could see myself living there, and you buy it because, hey, you drive past on the way to make sure that the tenants have mowed the lawns. That's how some people buy their properties. Is that really the best strategy to get you to your goal? Second way that some people would end up buying a house is they upgrade and they live in a current house and they go, oh, let's buy this house because it's an upgrade, and we'll keep the old house as a rental. And then we'll kind of try and figure out a bit of a strategy for that old house. There's one way that we see people kind of get into invest property. Secondly, is people go to some investments webinar, and some dude up the front goes, hey, you should, property prices are going to increase by 30%, no, usually 5% over the next 5 years, every year. In 7 years' time, your property will have enough equity to buy another property. The good news is, first of all, I'm not going to sell your property. Wealth Mentor does not sell property. We are all about education. Secondly, if you're buying a property and have to wait 7 years to buy the second property, that is a terrible, terrible strategy. We should be looking to implement the next property within a 3 to 6 month period by understanding the principles that we're following. So first of all, we establish what is the best strategy for us to get to where we want to get to. Secondly, how do we choose an area where we can implement the strategy that we've chosen? And then third, and most importantly, is the deal comes last, because the deal will be in the right area and be able to implement the right strategy to be able to ensure that you're getting to your goals. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to be just going with a buy and hope strategy. Yeah, buy and hope strategy. We want to have a clear guideline as to what we're looking to achieve. This is in terms of the property pyramid. We use this a lot. Now, this is an overall look at the different types of strategies, but within each strategy, there is key ideas or sub-strategies, we could call them, that you could implement. At the bottom of the pyramid, we've got owning a home. That's basically having a property that you may use to create equity. You might be able to Airbnb out a dwelling within your house. There's ways that you can use your own home as part of your investment strategy. Buy and hold, it's the go-to. Buy a property, you hold it, you create income from the property because the rents are strong compared to your purchase price, in terms of creating an income for you. We got flipping property at the moment. Great strategy right now. And actually, I didn't mention this, but I'm going to show you guys a deal that I'm currently doing. Actually settles on Friday that I've just purchased. I'm going to share with you guys some numbers on that one, which is a flip as well. So it's a great strategy in the current market, and I'll talk you through how I'm doing that one. Multi-income properties. This is when you got multiple income streams from one property. Great way to drive up income, so you get better rent, better cash flow, and then obviously developments. Some people like to go down the development route. It is a whole nother level, but it can be a way of creating some amazing equity uplift and some amazing cash flow as well once you get to that stage, if that's where you're going to get to. We cover all these strategies, and what we do is in terms of our masterclass. I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever attended. There's a few names I know have attended our masterclass, but we do cover off all these strategies in our 2-day masterclass. Now, I did say that you have to buy property as though it's never going to increase in value. But isn't this fascinating to see what's happened from 1975 up to, 2020? Property prices have increased. Now, yes, we've had dips, but we ride them out. And if we are being able to continue to make the right decisions to ensure we get in the cash flow, ensure we get in the equity uplift, and ride that up. A couple of interesting stats that I actually grabbed that I'm going to share with you guys is that November's average sale price is down 9.8% from the peak average sale price recorded December last year. So we're down about 10% nationally on sale prices. But November actually increased 1.5% from October. Again, was it the timing of the cycle within the year? Potentially. So I bet this is something that you're all wondering right now. Okay, we've got a market that's going backwards in some pockets. We've got, a few extra legislation in terms of buying and holding. So what strategies are actually going to be able to work for us in the current market? Now, every single one of you, 22 people that are on here tonight, every single one of you is going to have a slightly altered strategy, slightly different strategy. But for me, there's two that I want you to consider in the current market. One is take distressed property from landlords that slumlords is one way to put it, where they've not looked after their properties over a period of time. The properties are just in a real distressed state. Bring them up to a standard that then makes them livable and lovely and nice and first home buyer level, and on-sell them to first home buyers. Currently, banks are not liking lending to first home buyers in terms of being able to lend to them based on properties that have a whole lot of work to be done to them. So getting them so that there's no issues from a building report standpoint will make sure that you give yourself that opportunity to then move on those properties to first home buyers. The second strategy that I believe is really, really powerful is buy and hold, ensure that there's enough income from the properties to be able to wash its face or create an income. But the kicker is future development potential. Buy land. Make sure that the properties are creating income and there's land associated to your buy and holds, which gives you the ability to have future development potential, whether it is future development in terms of adding dwellings currently to increase the rent that you're achieving for your property, whether it is then having the ability future to subdivide or put multiple dwellings on. But guess what? We're not actually making any more land. Did you guys realize that? Probably. We're not making any more land. So having land is really, really important. Jane, I'll answer that one. I can see you've come through with a bit of a question there for me, and I'll address that. Now, for some of you guys that might have a little bit more personal questions, I would love to be able to jump into answering those for you guys after tonight's power hour. So when we're done, we can jump in. I'll stop recording so no one else has to listen to the questions, and let's have a bit of a chat and see if we can answer some of those questions for you guys. But remember, it comes down to my saying, once again, is buy properties so you know they're going to increase in value. But how do we do that? We follow this principle. This is one of the key principles that we talk about in terms of making sure that you can buy property over and over again. Make sure you buy property below its market value. Very important in today's market, that even if there is a drop in values, you have still purchased the property below market value. You add perceived value to the property. It's going to be tidying it up, adding dwellings, changing layouts, many different ways that you can do that. What that then is going to do is create an equity gain on the property. The property is going to be now worth more than what you've purchased it for, never mind the fact that you've purchased it below market value. What this then gives you the ability to do is to be able to then go revalue the property, take it back to the bank, say, hey, I've got this property, it's now worth this. And they go, great, we like you so much that here's another $100,000 of deposit. So that means you can then go buy another $300,000-$400,000 property, you can go buy another one. Or you sell it and you go, great, I've just realized $100,000 of profit. So there are two strategies that you can be implementing based on what I've shared with you just before. Now, I know you guys are dying to see a couple of examples. So let me share with you guys a couple of examples. And this first one I'm going to share with you is one of my students based in Wellington. We had a lot of Wellington people. So Litsa is based in Wellington and she bought this property here in Napier. It's a multi-income property that she has purchased. You can see the purchase price at $733,500. There's a story behind that. I don't have time for you guys tonight to share exactly the story behind that one, but an interesting number. Now, a simple cosmetic renovation, not a huge renovation, bringing it up to standard. But this property had huge rent compared to what the purchase price was, $733,000. We had 2 3-bedroom dwellings within this property. I forget the exact number on the rent. I apologize for that, but it was around about $600 per house that they were getting rent-wise. So you're talking about $1,200 per week rent compared to a $733,000 purchase. But the post-renovation value that was established on this property is at $960,000. How cool is that? That is a huge equity gain. Now, this number, I'm going to have to be honest with you guys, this number is something that we worked on in terms of understanding the market. They're currently getting a valuation. But so those of you that continue with the Wealth Mentor and come along to some of our other events, I'll be able to give you the exact number that they get. But that's where we are estimating the value to come back at in terms of a post-rent value. Now you might be going, yeah, but Jono, $733,000 of purchase price, only making $13,000 income a year. Now bear in mind that cash flow is after all expenses, rates, insurance, property managers, and 100% of the mortgage. This property has 100% mortgage. $733,000 borrowed for this property, and the interest on that is one of the expenses, and it's still creating over $1,000 per month of income. Does that make sense? Is that cool? $1,000 a month, and they've put none of their own money in. They've used the bank's money to do that. Now, everybody's saying, okay, well, why is the bank giving them 100% of the money? They had equity in the home. The equity in the home gave them the ability to borrow all the money to purchase this property. Currently, with the refinance, with the new valuation, that's going to give them the equity. They're going to use that equity to then go and buy another property. It's really cool to see what you can do when you start to understand how to buy property through equity. You can see a couple of teams jumping on and saying they'd like this one. Absolutely. Because growth is a great byproduct of property. It's brilliant. Yes, we love the fact that property increases in value in 7 to 10 years, but it is essential that we buy in cash flow and we're creating equity. That property there had 2 3-bedroom houses before. Now, I've got a couple of deals that I want to share with you guys really shortly, but before I do that, I'm going to share one of our students who built a substantial portfolio. And I saw before that there was a Gisborne face. Now, I think, Scott, it was you that jumped in from Gisborne. So Torb pretty much owns Gisborne. Torb has bought over, well, you can see there, over $6.5 million worth of Gisborne property. His first purchase after attending a masterclass was in July 2018. Now, I just want to explain a couple of things with this. That initial purchase price, including renovation, that there is his total purchase price. That includes his renovation costs, not how much money he's put in, because you leverage the lenders to be able to purchase property. So his income that he put into the property, believe me, was not $3.5 million, but it's now got a value of over $6.5 million. And his portfolio is creating $151,000 of income for him every single year. He no longer works. He sometimes heads over to Gisborne. He says to do maintenance, but he really just goes there to fly fish. And he's been able to build a substantial portfolio. It's pretty cool to see. Here's a bit of a snapshot. I know that it's probably small, but you can see a little bit of an idea as to where they are. You'll probably notice a couple of those addresses there, Scott, being from that area. And pretty awesome to see what Torb was able to establish in a pretty short period of time. Scott, I know we're catching up in just a couple of weeks, so I'll share that with you and you can look at it in a bit more detail and put you in touch with Torb. So I did mention that we do have our property masterclass. This is something that we are so proud of, a 2-day event that we host. That really is, I believe, the next level of education in terms of property, covering all levels of property and what you can do, whether it's trading, whether it's buy and holds. There's a number of team members. It's an extra interactive Zoom virtual event that we host. And the next one coming up on the 11th and 12th of February. But I want to share with you guys a trade that settled today. Who's keen? You have to actually jump in onto the chat. Who's keen to see a property that settled today? Otherwise, we're not going to show you. You actually have to jump in. Yeah, cool. Carol's keen. Of course, she's keen. Is Carol? Yeah. Yeah, cool. Happy, love it. Yeah, I know, Nicola. Sorry, I'm teasing. All right. Let's jump in and have a look at what Tim from Australia bought in Timaru. I wonder if he actually targeted Timaru just because his name's Tim. We can ask him that actually. Have a look at those numbers. He purchased the property for $160,000 and he's going to spend $160,000 on the renovation. It settled today at about 2:30. I got a text from him. I settled. His post-rent valuation is expected to be closer on the $500,000 mark. He's going to make a profit of around about $140,000 on this property. Now, it's pretty cool to see what Tim's been able to do. Now, Tim is actually based in Melbourne, but Tim is actually in New Zealand at the moment, and I actually grabbed him along to come and join us tonight so that we can grill him and ask him a couple of questions about this trade. Tim, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Welcome. Good to see you.
Yes, good to see you again.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. So you settled on this property today?
Yeah, literally 2:30 today, and arrived at the property at about 3:30 today. So it was great.
How good is that? So you are going in with $160,000 renovation. That's substantial.
Yeah.
Why is it such a huge renovation?
So it was a hoarder's house that then hasn't been lived in for about 3 years. And you can sort of imagine what the inside state looks like. So it was good to walk through it today and see, but I'm pretty confident that we've over budgeted. at that reno price. And there's already been a couple of sort of, $10,000 deductions from that already since settlement. So yeah, we've got a lot of things to go through tomorrow, and we'll learn so much more to sort of start to chisel that number down as best as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. The other one, Tim, we got 480 on the post reno sale. I know I've been talking to you a little bit recently, and every time anything comes up in Timaru that's a comparable, you're like, oh, check out this one. You're expecting that, that's probably on the lower end of a sale price?
Yeah, look, obviously with the way the market is at the moment, you've got to make sure that we really hit the nail on the head in terms of who we are selling it to. And what those individuals want, and that's something that's sort of a core strategy for this property. It's very much about understanding who's still in the market, what do they want, and how can we sort of fill that brief for them, or get as close to possible as we can. So yeah, having a look around some of the others that are on the market currently that are not as bad as what this looks like, but nowhere near what we're going to turn it into. Yeah, they're all sort of sitting in that sort of 450 to 500 range. And that's in their sort of dated, in need of some restoration work. So then looking at having ours completely renovated, top to toe, inside and out, we would think that that's a pretty safe number at this stage.
Brilliant. So you, Tim, on the way through to Timaru, you dropped in to Auckland, came and visited. We actually had a catch up with some of the other Wealth Mentor team yesterday, and that was really cool. It was pretty awesome being amongst everybody and having discussions. How cool were some of the discussions that we were having yesterday?
It was awesome, man. I was like, it's the first time I've been to Auckland in years. It was the first time we've all sat down and met, the sort of extended family as such, and a bunch of mentors and past students and whatnot that were sort of sharing what they've done, what they're up to, and how many wins they've had. And you sort of went around the table and you thought, wow, what an amazing group to be sitting here with. And you'd sort of get into a question and you had the opportunity to sort of really grill a question that you perhaps don't often always get the detailed answer for. And we just sat there for hours, I think, just chatting away. It was brilliant.
It was good. Now, on the way through as well, Tim, you actually snuck in and checked out my barbecue skills at my place, which is cool. But my daughter managed to actually scam some. Oh, no, sorry, scam is the wrong word. My daughter
alleviated me.
Yeah. Can you actually share this story with everyone? I think it's brilliant. I know it's a little bit off topic, but I think it's really cool.
It was brilliant. I think it's magical. I've got a young daughter too, and I was like, this is brilliant. I need to get my daughter onto this. So she created a game for us to play, and you had to pay to play. And who's going to turn down a little girl with a cute face who wants you to come play her game that she's created? So we ended up playing this little throw the ball game into a cup, and it was $1 a throw. So I had a few throws, of course, and yeah, everyone was happy at the end of that, I think.
I love that. And I think as well, the impact that you have on those people around you, it's quite cool to see what my daughter is doing in terms of that without actually even being prompted on that idea. She starts to understand it, and she's I'm going to show you my deal soon. She's actually we joke about her being project manager on that one.
Fantastic.
Yeah, cool. So Tim, you attended a virtual masterclass, and we actually only met just in person now for the first time. You attended a masterclass a couple of years ago. You then went off, and the first deal that you bought after doing a masterclass, what was it?
Yeah, so my masterclass was quite literally November 2 years ago. And we came along and had a listen to everything that you guys had available to teach. And I'd sort of set a bar fairly high for myself personally, that I sort of wanted to go out and sort of hit the ground running. And I think it was sort of the next month after that, we had a property somewhat under contract. And then by the time we came through Christmas period, we managed to completely lock it up. And yeah, we can go into details if you want, but I suppose the short story of it is we made nearly $500,000 in our first deal.
I think that's a nice short story on that one. And you actually will share more details. You will be at our masterclass coming up in February, and you will share more details on that one. I realize that we've only got an hour for everybody tonight. I don't want to take anybody time over, but we will jump into more details. It's the huge cash flow and the equity uplift that you're able to achieve on that property is sensational. So really cool. All right, Tim, I'm going to share a little bit of details really shortly. Before I'm going to share my deal next, and then we're going to jump into the masterclass. what would your last words be to anybody that ever considered the idea of coming to spend 2 days with us?
I think if you've ever even remotely entertained the thought of being involved in property, and whether that's like, one and you're done, or you want a portfolio over 100, I think it's a fantastic place to start. The ability to come along for those 2 days and just sponge off of you guys all the knowledge that you have, and ask all your questions and talk specifics. There's so much time available to really nut down to some really granular detail. You come away with so much that if you have interest in property, you are honestly doing yourself a disservice if you don't come along, do those 2 days, and then you decide where it goes from there, really.
Thank you so much for sharing, Tim. And thank you for jumping along and sharing a bit on your deals. Congratulations on settlement today. Pleased to hear that the reno is going to come in even lower than so that means better profit for you. And congratulations on what you're achieving. And for everybody, I think there's one other thing you need to congratulate Tim, because he's actually now actually retired from work as well, and he's moving full-time into property, which is pretty cool to see what he's been able to achieve in 2 years. So Tim, congratulations, my friend.
Be magic. Thanks so much, Jono.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. So question there that I'm just going to jump onto, there's a few there that we can't answer all of them right now. I apologize, but we can answer some of them later on or at the masterclass. But settlement is when you pay for the property. That's the day that you actually take the ownership of your property. So that is there. What settlement is, right. Now we talk about everybody's journey being different. So it's really important to understand that everybody will take a different path in terms of their investment. But having the education and the knowledge behind you is what's going to help to speed that up and reduce the risks that come with investing. Now, I did say that I would share a deal that I am about to settle on, and that deal there settles this Friday. And there's Isla, that's the entrepreneur right there. She's a few dollars richer after Tim came to visit this weekend. And I took her through. It was actually quite funny when I took her through the property. The first thing she walks in, she goes, "Dad, quite small. There's a lot of flies." And then it was, we're going to make it pretty though. And it's true, because we have that ability to take a product that is not desirable, that people can't actually envision themselves living in, and be able to then shift that property into something that is desirable, that people are going to fall in love with and be able to call their home. So this property here had a CV of 770, and it's on the market at 669. We picked it up for 575, and it settles this Friday. The renovation that we are planning is a $40,000 renovation, cosmetic renovation, slight layout change, but not major at all. And what that's going to do is it's going to transform and be able to create a product that is going to be worth approximately $740,000 plus. That there is my safe sale number that I've worked off. So I know that that is my exit. Even at that 740, we're talking about $100,000 of profits at the 740. Now, it's quite cool to be able to pull one of these off, because this will take around about 3 months to do this deal. It's $100,000 of profit in 3 months. But there's a little bit of a kicker, and I'll explain more at the masterclass, but I'm actually only getting half of those profits, because I'm actually using none of my own money. Someone else is paying for it. I'll give them half the profits. In 3 months, I'll make $50,000 by just coordinating and having the knowledge as to how to pull a deal together. Knowledge is the key principle. Now, as we lead on, I'd love to, guys, be able to share with you some more information, but I do realize that we are at the hour mark. I've got one more little interesting statistic that I want to share with you. And that is the median days to sell around the country. So currently, nationwide, we're at 44 days, median days to sell. You can actually see there that in Auckland, we're actually down 2 days less to sell compared to this month, compared to last year, this month, to November last year. Pretty fascinating stat when you think about that. But then again, comes back to it. Are you prepared for the opportunity ahead? And if you're not, who's keen to get prepared for the opportunity ahead? Probably should all be nodding your head. I take it you got your cameras off, or you're just like, yeah, I'm ready, I'm keen. But absolutely, I can see a couple of emojis coming out there. Absolutely, we want to get ourselves into a position where we are prepared for the opportunity ahead. Now, we mentioned on our masterclass, we do share a lot of different ideas and concepts and principles that we teach. Here's a couple of the ideas that we do teach over the masterclass. I realize there's a lot on this page because we do teach a whole heap. There's a few of you that I know have attended masterclass before. So let me know actually, what was your favorite topic for those of you that have attended beforehand out of everything that we cover off. So we go through things like, where do we get the money? How do we do with other people's money? How do we analyze our deals? How do we analyze the market? I spent a little bit of time on the market. We spend an hour talking through market. We have one of our mentors, Ryan, talk through details in terms of the market analysis, who your teams are that you're working with, different strategies that you could be implementing. What are some of the other ways of using strategies like developments, boarding houses, multi-incomes, trading? All these ideas are going to be covered off in a virtual interactive event. We have breakout rooms, you jump in, you talk to the team, you have your questions answered. It's a really interactive couple of days. So that's pretty much all the ideas that we talk through. Again, it is an interactive couple of days that we do share. We've got quite a team that comes along to the masterclass. It's not just me. We deliver from one of our team members has a studio that we deliver from. So it's quite a cool, crisp event, very, as I said, interactive. And this is the team that we have along for the masterclass. Belinda, amazing portfolio. I think she's close on $250,000 of cash flow. She's one of the key presenters of the weekend. Therese, we call her the queen of Invercargill. Paul Southey, who's he's built over 700 homes. He's on master builders associations. He's a development expert, one of our mentors. Ryan, we joke about him being our resident economist. All these mentors are there for you guys over the weekend. And then there's Carol's there as well. And I did see Carol before. Carol, are you here? If you are, just quickly unmute yourself, Carol, just for 1 minute. I'm just going to ask you a question.
Jono.
Oh, hey, how are you? One question, Carol, because I do realize that we've taken everybody's time. What would you say to everybody that is considering the idea of trying to spend a couple of days with us?
Oh, look, the experience itself and the mindset work that, you know, that gets you prepared to then go smash your goals. I think it's so valuable, like you can't beat it. And when I look back now and see the base of knowledge that I've got in property, it makes you really confident. So yeah, I would absolutely totally recommend that you jump on in there and don't second guess it. Like there's sometimes you just need to go with your gut and get it done. Go for it.
Absolutely. And we prepare for the next year. Now, Carol is one of the presenters and covers a lot of talk around social housing and how you can implement that within your strategy. She's extremely knowledgeable in that space, and the work she's doing with local iwi is fantastic, and she'll share that journey with you guys, how she's actually providing housing for the less fortunate, which is really, really cool what she's been able to achieve in many spaces. So that's the team there that share a lot of information. There's also Helen jumped up there as well. Amazing knowledge, Helen, accountant by trade, and has done pretty much every single strategy you could ever imagine within property, and she's there along as well. So again, those dates for you, 11th and 12th of February is the next one. Best time to prepare. There's the QR code. If you guys need a link, Carol, can you have that link handy for me? Otherwise, I could probably grab it. If you can drop that into the chat, guys, you can head across. Now, it's really, really important. I'll share again everything that's included for the masterclass. You get the event, you get a strategy call leading up to the event as well, where you get to have a chat to one of the team members leading up to it, access to the community, all our online resources as well, lifetime support from Wealth Mentor. We're here to support you guys going forward. You can see the family that we all are. That's what it's about for us as well. We have a consultation call within the masterclass where we spend about half an hour working on your specific strategy, but we also have a strategy call leading up to the masterclass, usually done by Carol, where you get to have a good chat to Carol leading up to the event in preparation for the masterclass. We usually offer this at $14.97. If you've headed across to the website already on the link, you would have seen it $14.97, but it's Christmas, so we need to make sure that we provide the opportunity. This is an absolute opportunity. This is less than a tenth of what Tim paid. So please, Tim, don't pay attention as to what this cost is right now. Please close your eyes for the next minute. Because it is literally less than a tenth. At $295, guys, make sure you use the deal 295 as the code. So the way that works is when you head across the website, you will put in 295 as the coupon code. Really, opportunities right now. Now, it may be quite desirable, the idea of $295 for someone to head along to a masterclass. But it even gets better because we're going to offer you the ability to have 2 tickets to the masterclass. So you can offer it over to a friend, another couple can head along as well. So you can have 2 of you attend the masterclass and enjoy the ability to jump in. And that there is inclusive of the $295. So again, everything that I've talked about already, the consult calls, the strategy calls, the in-person virtual networking event, interactive event, all for just $295. It really is an opportunity to set yourselves up for a big 2023. Guys, I can't stress it enough. This is the opportunity that we need. For those of you that need a bit of help technically, this is the page that you will head across to, Property Masterclass. And there's a spot just down the bottom where it says just underneath password, have a coupon. Make sure you click on that one and put in deal 295. And then when you head across, that'll pop you down at $295 for you to spend 2 days with us. Guys, that's less than $100 a day when you take into account that it is for 2 tickets. It's a really opportunity to come and spend some time with the team. Cannot wait for you guys to be able to join us. Now, there's a key takeaway from today. Everybody's strategy is different. Know your strategy and know how to implement it for your area. Understand the dynamics of your area. Don't take into account national averages, national prices for your area. Understand your area and understand your strategy. The knowledge is the key. It's time to act. Jump on, click that link, fill out the forms, and you can join us. I know that it is the way that you guys are going to set yourselves up for a massive 23. So it's time to decide which path are we going to take. Make that decision to either keep doing what we've always done or take some action, click that link, 295, join the team for 2 days, educate yourself. Believe me, you will change the way you view property. You'll make better investment decisions and you will change the future for you, not only yourself, but your kids, your family, and those loved ones around you. Time is now. Click that link, it's in the chat. I'll share a quick video that'll give you a little bit more details as to what it is in terms of the masterclass. Enjoy. It was quite loud, wasn't it? Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope that you've enjoyed what you've got out of it. Please, if you've got any questions, hang around. I'd love to be able to answer those for you. For those of that you are live, reach out. There is the link there for you guys to join and book the masterclass. If you have any other questions, there's another link there for you guys. You can book into our calendar and have a chat. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic evening. Merry Christmas. And make sure that you always stay awesome. Good night, everybody.